Second question is about Justin Tucker, who has been honestly more talked about in national media than I thought he would. It's really getting around. What's wrong with Justin Tucker? Should the Ravens move on from Tucker or just ride it out with him? Obviously, there's a stat that everyone saw. The Ravens' 5 losses are by a combined 22 points this season. Justin Tucker has 22 points worth of missed kicks in the 5 Ravens losses. After the game on Sunday, Tucker admitted to it. I feel like I cost us this one. As you guys know, some of you may have seen Belichick was on the Pat McAfee show talking about Justin Tucker, and he said, quote, "He still has great height on the ball. The ball travels with plenty of distance. There's nobody else out there that has more experience or has mentality, been in more situations than Tucker has. I think I would go with Tucker." Zach, what's your take on the situation?
It's just so puzzling, right? When you get the best kicker, well, deemed the best kicker of all time, as in accuracy, distance, the record's his. I mean, everything points to Justin Tucker being the best. And the fact that we could lose 5 games and feel like most of those are on his shoulders, if not him just being a part of those losses, we could say at week 13, we need to cut him. That's pretty incredible. That's as when we were right out after in the post game, we were talking about. I was angry. I said I don't expect him to be here past Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, and it's like the Ravens obviously have 20 times the faith in him because what he means to the organization and everything is also generational, right? He's the prototypical, you see his face when you picture the Ravens as in a group, and his greatness also can't be undervalued. If you talk about all of his seasons of kicking, I can't really remember one where it was like, oh, he really had the yips that year, or wow, he had the real big struggles like this. If he's just been that good since his Texas days, and this is the first time that he has had generally the yips, literally he's lost one like inch of a foot movement that has affected these kicks. It's a whole new journey for him too. And especially with the group we have, I trust someone like Harbaugh to get him right. But then I have to contradict myself and say, we are in week 13 and it's not really been fixed. They've made attempts at it. I think someone said on ESPN or something that, oh, it was all wide left. It was all wide left. And then he had a wide right. The difference of those kicks, right? Whenever it was all wide left, it was such a curve. It would really hook. And the right, whenever that miss to the right in the Eagles game, was one of those kicks where in the past with, I think the Browns game, he would switch the technique to where it is like a dead straight ball, right? So that dead straight ball he kicked was just off to the right. It was, again, just a bad trajectory. So it was something else that had been working where they had figured that part out. But this time it also didn't work. It was the final straw of attempts and confidence for him. I mean, him saying that he cost us that one is big. That means that it's really weighing on him to another level. And I'm sure everyone in the locker room also feels that and is encouraging him. And I just, now looking back on that post game, I realize you have to ride it out with him. Even if the rest of this year becomes a bombshell and we lose in the divisional to the Bills or the Chiefs or whoever by a Tucker missed field goal. I mean, no matter what, we have to hang our hat on the fact that he is our possibly Hall of Fame kicker. And if he's going to have one bad year, I think this is the one, and we're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, man, it's scary because you're talking about a bona fide star Hall of Fame kicker here. That's been our guy for over a decade now. And now he's a huge liability to this team's success. And I mean, we're all going to say it. He's part of the reason we're losing games. And it's just sad because it's very obvious this entire team, the franchise, the fan base, I mean, overall has this guy's back. They're all picking him up when he's down. And you can even see now he's taking accountability for it. So, like Zach said, it's weighing on him and it's really affecting him. And we know, especially with football, the kicking position in particular is a mental game. And, if you're going out there missing kicks, I think he has 8 misses on the year and 2 extra points. That's 100% going to get in your head. It's going to be a mental game. It's going to be hard to get out of that. It's kind of like a rough, much like baseball, if you want to compare it to that game too. If you're going up there
Mhm.
striking out every at bat, it's really hard to break that and become a home run hitter once again. So this bye week's probably coming at a really good time for him to kind of clear the head, get on the practice field, work on the technique, work on what's not working. And like Zach said, the majority of these kicks are getting pulled wide left. And of course, we had the one wide right in the Eagles game, but overall, I feel like, I'm confident saying this, that there's probably a small tweak that he can make in his technique to help better his game. Obviously, we know he can do it. He's probably the best kicker of all time. He's going through a slump. We've never really seen this from Tucker, so that's why it's kind of, why we're all freaking out at the moment, because he's been absolutely star-studded his entire career. Every time he comes up for a kick, we know he's making it. You can leave the room and come back and you know he's going to get it. So it's just really hard for us to adjust to this right now because it's something we are completely not used to. And as much as I've been upset with him lately, I do have trust in him at the end of the day. There's a reason he's one of the best kickers of all time, if not the best. And he's got some time to figure it out. I'm not going to say a lot of time because the playoffs are quickly approaching. But, I would hope and I would imagine that this team has himself included figured out by, playoff time. And at the end of the day, the Ravens aren't going to make a move to get rid of him. It's not going to happen. He's going to be our kicker all the way through the end of the season, whether you like it or not. God forbid an injury. So we just got to hope. We got to hang our head on our boy Tuck and just hope that he gets it back, because at the end of the day, he ain't going nowhere. And, I would say that's probably for good reason. But the only thing I would say that I do want the team to do potentially is bring in some, competition. I'm not saying bring in a guy that's going to overtake his job. Obviously, that's not going to happen. And I completely understand them saying that there's nobody out there on the street that's better than Tucker, which is 100% correct. At the very least, you bringing in competition and showing him that his job is not safe, I feel like kind of gives him that extra advantage point, a little extra edge to kind of, hey, I really need to figure this out. They got guys in the building kicking, potentially looking for my job. So I think that would benefit him in any way. I don't think that would do anything in a wrong term. So I don't know, man. We just got to hope Tucker can get it back, and hopefully soon.
And like there were so many moments in 2018, 2019, even before then. Tucker could be lining up for a 47-yard field goal, and I'm like on my phone.
Going to the bathroom.
I'm not even looking at the screen. And even last year that wasn't the case. And last year there was a little bit of struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I think that's what the national media doesn't know and doesn't understand. This is something that started last year, where you'd be a little concerned about every field goal. And then this year it kind of blew up. And it's like, I think you guys might agree, it's not that surprising because of what we saw last year. A couple 50-yard misses, a couple missed extra points. I don't know. I agree with Dawson. I think bringing in competition is good. Not to take his spot. I mean, it's interesting. It's like, are you going to carry 2 kickers in the NFL? You know what I mean? Like probably not. I don't know. It's more so. Do you think he's going to be back to who he really is next year, or do you think this is kind of the end? I feel like that would kind of influence your decision making in this process.
It's just tough because I feel like right now, and Tucker's not this kind of guy, but I feel like right now it's you or nobody, dude. It's like you're the only kicker we got. We're just gonna sit here and rely on you figuring it out again. And I feel like at the very minimum, if you bring in guys into the building for kicking tryouts, what is there to lose? Who is there to hurt? Tucker's feelings are not going to get hurt. None of the players, none of the coaches, like, you bring in a guy to kick alongside him and he at least sees that, hey, we're weighing options, man. Like, you got to get it figured out. Like, this is not a joke. Like, we need to get this figured out like ASAP. I feel like that gives him a little bit of an edge because I feel like Tucker's obviously a very competitive individual and he would take that as kind of like, okay, like, I'm going to figure this out. Like, I'm not going nowhere. I'm still the kicker. And it's just like, what is there to lose by calling in a guy to come in and kick some footballs around for like a few hours, man? I feel like that would help him. I do.
And you got people talking about like technical issues with this. And Harbaugh's mentioned that he makes all his kicks in practice and he makes all his kicks in warmups. So that would tell me it's not a technical thing. It's
Yeah.
that would tell me it's a mental thing. So
That's what I'm saying.
go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, like the closest thing I can think of is like the yips. He's got a case of the yips. I really don't understand how. I love Dawson's Point, like the pitcher, the strikeouts, and it's like the home run hitter can't get one again, and then all of a sudden he does, but it sure takes a rough patch to get through it. And I want to compare it to like kind of a family thing, right? To give us a different point of view. If this Ravens team, over a decade, he's kicked for them, the relationship with Harbaugh, special teams guys, everyone, they've created a bond where if you were to bring someone in right now, whoever the best free agent kicker is, you bring some guy in and he starts kicking, that means that you're not 100% confident with Justin Tucker. Now, right now, I think we can all say that we are not 100% confident with Justin Tucker. But if you're talking about an organization that is as pristine as the Ravens are, with this Raven mentality and all, you have to be 100% with Justin Tucker. You have to be 100%. And honestly, I love that because it shows how much Harbaugh is a player's coach and that he can still be faithful with him even through really, really, really tough times. And a different part of Hard Knocks that I forgot to mention, he goes out there and he kicks and makes like a 30-yarder, I believe, to begin the Eagles game. And it was like, okay, there we go, Tucker. Just see one go through, right? And then they quickly show Harbaugh on the sideline, excited. The next one he kicks, it's complete opposite, right? It's like, hey, you'll get it next time. Like everyone on the sideline, you'll get it next time. And he's like, I know. Like he's still confident, right? And seeing that type of stuff, it means that it's like a family almost, where you can't give up on like a brother, a son almost, if you're Harbaugh. And even in this situation where you know he's the best, but he's not having his best right now, you have to kind of stay truthful to him. You have to stay in that zone and stay fully engaged with him to see if he can bring it back. Because if he can bring it back, it's the best kicker ever. Think about if he can transform it going into these last couple of games, if he can somehow flip it around and knock through, half of his misses right now, we're winning probably a game or two, right? And it's just really, it's such a hard situation. If you think about it like how I just described it, it's like, okay, you could never cut him. You could just not. And it on the other side, it's a business, and we can be as upset as we want to be because other kickers right now are not necessarily having the greatest years as well. So it's tough. It's an incredibly difficult discussion that the media is honestly talking about. That I was surprised as Brad was, but yeah, it's really deep. It's deeper than we think it is.
Yeah, like I completely agree. You want to stand behind Tuck because obviously he's legendary, but at the same time, the whole aspect of saying that there's nobody on the street right now that's better than him. We're talking about a guy who I believe I saw a stat is like 35th out of 40 qualifying kickers in this NFL season in field goal percentage or something along the lines of that. So, I mean, we can sit here and say all you want, but realistically, man, it's not a joke to say Tucker is one of the worst kickers in the NFL this season. I mean, he is genuinely not great, and it sucks, man. It really, really sucks. But I mean, we're not talking about a guy who's just, oh, he can't kick 55 plus anymore. Oh, he misses a 45 plus every now and then. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is missing extra points. We're talking about a guy who is missing 35 yarders. We're talking about a guy who is like, he's walking up and we're all like shaking. We're nervous because we know right now there's a pretty decent chance that he's missing. So I mean, I get it. Yeah, no one, if you bring in a guy off the street, compared to Justin Tucker, it doesn't look pretty. But I can guarantee you right now that there's probably a kicker on the street right now that's not missing extra points. There's a kicker that's going to deliver from 40 or less. And there's probably a guy out there that can deliver from 40 plus too. And at the very worst, you bring in competition and help your legendary kicker get back to his norm. But I don't like that whole thing of like Harbaugh and the coaching staff immediately just brushing aside anyone on the street because, to be honest with you, we're talking about a kicker this season. Unfortunately, it's been one of the worst in the NFL.
After drawing conclusion that it is a mental thing, because that's really the only, like, it can't be anything else. I kind of compare this to the Chargers playoff game, Lamar's rookie year, where everyone kind of knew if the Ravens decided to put Flacco in, our chances of winning that game is probably higher. I don't know about you guys. Even knowing that, I did not want Joe Flacco to come into the game for the same reason that Harbaugh didn't end up doing it. Like, you can be affected more mentally than physically as an athlete. And maybe benching Tucker kind of ruins him forever. I don't know. I think this is how I would approach it. You hope he fixes it on the bye week. Let's say Giants game, he's 3 for 3. Okay, you're good. Don't have to talk about it ever again. If he goes 1 for 3 in the Giants game, I'm probably bringing in someone that. That's how I'd approach it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, Dawson.
No, I'm good. It's sad, man. It's crazy that we're sitting here talking about worries of Justin Tucker. I've never thought we'd get to this point. I really never thought
Yeah.
we'd be here. I obviously, you started the season rough. I'm pretty sure you missed one of the Kansas City game. But I thought, like, the moment for me that I was like, all right, yeah, Tucker's back, was when he drilled that, like, 56-yarder, I think, that sent us in overtime against the Bengals week 5
Yeah.
or whatever that was.
Mm-hmm.
It was something like that. Like, that's when I was like, all right, he's back. Because if he didn't make it, we lost. We lost. And he drilled, like, a 56-yarder, and I was like, oh, yeah, like, we're good. And then, unfortunately, it's haunted him the whole season. But obviously, he could still drill him. Like he can do it. It's just technique. Something's off with the technique. The mental aspects obviously weighing on him, and I just hope our boy can get right.
Isn't that a great thing to note? Like he still has the clutch gene even after all that. Like what? He could miss a few, and then I feel like if we trot him out there, and
I would be more confident in him kicking a game winner than
right?
like a second quarter field goal.
I don't know why,
but
isn't that
or
crazy?
an extra point?
Yeah.
It's the truth, dude. It's the truth.
Yeah.